Yes.
Okay, welcome.
Hi,
folks.
Dhruti. Hi. Hello.
Hi. I love your background.
We've got a couple of more people coming in.
Hey, Apni.
Got Avni here.
Hey, Asta.
And Ramesh Asta.
Hi, Dhruti. Hi, Dhruti.
Hi.
Hello.
So good to
Hi.
see you.
Lovely to see you too, Dhruti. I'm just finishing up a call, so I'll be on mute for a while, and but I'm right here, and I'll join back in just a couple of minutes.
Sure.
But I wanted to not be late and be on time for you. See you in a minute.
Thank you. See ya.
Right, folks. We're at the stroke of 12 Indian Standard Time. And I'm your host today, Shalil, and welcome to this session today, our book launch for The Resilient Entrepreneur, Strategies to Set You Up for Success. And we have a beaming author sitting with us, having a good time. That's the way, Dhruti, you need to smile some more. Okay. Just one little thing that I need to tell you is that she's been a little bit of pins and needles just before we started. But now she seems to be a little bit more relaxed. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. And welcome to all of you coming in from different parts of the world. And most of us are actually here in Bangalore in India, but it's great to have such an international audience. Welcome to the session. So I am going to invite my colleague, Sanjay Dugar, who himself is an entrepreneur, who has worked with several startups, is known to have had quite a few successes. In fact, 9 successes in a row, if I can say that. And I'm going to ask Sanjay to come in, talk about his experience as an entrepreneur so far, and also his work with entrepreneurs, what he's sort of understood, what he brings to the table over here. Over to you, Sanjay.
All right. Thank you, Shalil. And first of all, good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to our session on book launch. I'm sure Dhruti is really, really looking forward. So in advance, congratulations, Dhruti. So the concept about trying to establish a background. I want to talk about establish the background around entrepreneurship, right? So as Shalil mentioned, I was an entrepreneur at the start. I went into the corporate world, came back to be an entrepreneur again. And also I advise startups and how they select how they should be funding different entrepreneurs who come in. It actually reminds me of a quote by a person I follow on LinkedIn, Angela Duckworth. She says, "Enthusiasm is common, endurance is rare," right? And what better way to express entrepreneurship, right? All of us have brilliant ideas when we get in to be entrepreneurs. We believe that, nobody else has thought about it before, which is true. And that is why there's an opportunity for you to be an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, when we go out to convince other people to be a part of our ecosystem, be a part of a stakeholder, either an investor or a customer or a supplier or whatever, we assume that they understand our business. Well, the sad part is if they had all understood your business, there is a high chance that they may have started something like that on their own, right? So that's where the challenge is, and that's where endurance is required for an entrepreneur. Having said that, maybe the best way to explain that is to share some examples. So I'll start with my own. I'll start with my own example. So way back, I mean, as early as 1983, when I started a business around computer solutions, just to set the context at that time, understanding the difference between a calculator and computer was not a very common thing, right? So that's the time when I started that business. And of course, I thought that I hit upon a brilliant idea there and be the first mover and all of that. And I managed to run that business for some time. Eventually, as the business started to grow, that's when I got into trouble. Right? I got into troubles thinking like, okay, how am I going to fund this growth? A lot of people in the world of computers who were coming in were much larger than what I could manage individually. And I was scared to take the risk. Like I borrow money and grow the business, and what happens if I get stuck? And that led me to selling out my company. Right? Of course, I sold the company, and I didn't have the resilience. I wish I had Dhruti's book there to guide me. But nevertheless, that was the scenario that happened. And when I sold my company, I was also fortunate or maybe unfortunate. I let you decide that. But then I went on to head that new company that acquired me. It was a part of a very large corporate group in India. And the mandate they gave me when they acquired my company was that we want to diversify the tech business and we want to be known as one of the biggest players in the tech industry. All right. So on that note, I went in and, the innovative streak of mine, that entrepreneurial mindset made me reach out internationally. And I happened to strike some very large deals, one around a call center, one around an animation studio, and one around medical transcription. And they all happened within 3 months of time. And when I went back to this corporate and spoke to the board and asked them to fund it, they started to wonder whether it makes sense, right? Because all of a sudden, there's no history of call centers, medical transcription, and animation studios in India. And when I proposed that, they were like, we don't understand any of this. How are we going? So they started asking me a lot of questions. How are we going to get people? How are we going to train them? What happens if, and what happens if not? And that kind of struck a chord. And I realized that they weren't really entrepreneurs, right? Meaning that they wanted the money, but they didn't want to take that risk. And that's the crossroad in which most of us as entrepreneurs may have experienced. And when I carry that forward and to the current time and look at how I advise people who fund startups, I actually ask them the same thing, right? You ask people who make a pitch, what if something happened? What would you do? And the way they answer that will give you a very good idea whether they can actually be resilient to some things that come which they don't anticipate. And if they have good answers there, and if they display that mindset, then for sure the VCs can take that risk and invest in them. So that's a little thought around resilience. And with that, I guess I'll hand it over back to Shalil. If you do have any questions, do pop that on the chat. I'll be happy to follow that and maybe share more thoughts on it. Back to you, Shalil.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you very much. And I think that is insightful for us to be able to understand a little bit of what happened in your entrepreneurial life. Yeah, certain realizations do happen. It's just a question in terms of when people talk in terms of, are you okay to be uncomfortable for a while? Just like you said very clearly in terms of they're looking for the money, but they don't want to be uncomfortable. And entrepreneurship, I think, has got to do a lot with having the ability to be uncomfortable. And therein comes resilience, the ability to be able to bounce back and get back to your previous state, so to speak. So I'll take this opportunity to talk a little bit about the book itself. And it's all about resilience. This book is all about anyone who needs to know something about resilience, the ability to be able to bounce back. And this is a must read for any entrepreneur or even an intrapreneur within a well-funded startup, within an organization, you're starting a new business, anyone who's actually starting out on a new venture. I think this is a good read for you, an excellent read for you. It does have a lot of science-backed research, a lot of actionable insights, real life case situations that you have, quizzes, things for you to make a note of. So it's all there, and it's more like a practical book for you to be able to refer to for all the entrepreneurs here. So something about Dhruti, and it behoves me to introduce Dhruti. I'm so happy to do this. Dhruti is an associate director at C2C OD today in Bangalore. We are based out of Bangalore. She's also my colleague, which makes it all the more special for me to introduce her. She's a bag of energy, which I think all of you know about. And from a professional standpoint, let me get to a little bit of the formal part, about 20 years of professional experience. Hello, hello. When I saw that, I said, how do you do it, Dhruti? So more about that later. But yes, 20 years of experience under her belt. She is a coach who believes in creating actionable insights. And she loves and she thrives in a dynamically changing environment, which makes her actually a very apt author for a person, an apt author for a book on resilience and entrepreneurship. So this is where we are as far as Dhruti and as far as the book is concerned. And at this particular point of time, I'm going to invite Dhruti herself to talk a little bit about her book, about her inspiration to write this particular book. What can readers expect? And maybe just pick on a couple of core concepts from the book itself. Dhruti,
Sure.
all yours.
Thank you so much, Shalil. Thank you so much. And I can always rely on my colleagues to make me feel at ease at any point in time. So thank you. All right, Sanjay, I just read that comment and I'm like, okay. So I honestly do believe, first of all, thank you so much for everyone who's joined us today. I really, really, really appreciate it, especially people who are on vacation and have still made the time. You know who you are, and thank you so much. So I believe that, when we are thinking about some stories, they come from the heart. And when we talk about our learnings, they come from a reflection of the experiences that we've had. And journey of writing the book, how everything happened, is similar to that. It was, I was in Singapore. It was November 26th, beautiful Tuesday evening, and just gotten off a networking event. And there was a very impressive looking woman standing and waiting for her taxi, just the way I was. So we started talking. We realized we were part of the same association, and we just did not have the chance to connect that evening. So we get on to talking, some had a small talk, and she told me out of nowhere, hey, Dhruti, if you ever want to write a book, get a book coach. And I'm like, wait, what? Book? I mean, I've never thought of that really. But no prizes for guessing what was top of the mind. For a week after that, I'm like, I'm going to write a book. And, spontaneity is actually one of my traits. I'm very spontaneous. I love to do things that people don't expect of me. And I surprise people with that. But this time my husband is like, she's gone batshit crazy. I mean, what is she thinking? Writing a book? You know how much effort that takes, and da 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 da. We had that conversation until I reminded him of a long lost dream. I was in the second year of college, so I'm taking a little bit back in time, and I had decided I want to be a journalist because I loved writing and I loved looking for stories. So I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. So after my graduation, enrolled myself into a little course on journalism. And things were peachy, just like the color of my jacket. And they were looking good. So I was like, okay, life is good. I'm going to nail this. Until one of the professors who I really admired, and I looked at her as my role model, she came up to me and she's like, it would be a miracle if you write a 300-word article in English. You should stick to your mother tongue. And I'm like, oh gosh, I'm in trouble because I cannot write in my mother tongue. I mean, I can speak. So, okay, I did not know what to do. And because I really looked up to her, I believed what she had to say. And I took it as a testament to who I was. So I put a big red cross on my dream of writing and becoming a journalist. So of course, you can have multiple takeaways from the stories, believe in yourself, efficacy, a lot of things. But the bottom line was this: I did not become a journalist. I continued writing for myself and all of that. But that day on 2019, I felt like the universe was giving me another chance. And this time I decided to write, not for myself, but for someone out there who could be verged on giving up. I wanted to write for them. And, having fought multiple battles over the years till 2019, whether it was to do with professional setbacks or infertility or, abandonment by people I loved, or literally anything, you name it. There was a cancer scare and a lot more. There was depression. So having dealt with all of that, resilience just came naturally to me, and that ability to bounce back from anything and everything that life threw at me. So that was, okay, resilience. I'm going to write about resilience. And the moment I thought about, okay, but who's this book really for? Who's going to pick up the book? And immediately, as I was thinking about this, I thought of entrepreneurs. Because since 2009, I was surrounded by entrepreneurs, whether when I was in the Bay Area or I was in, Bangalore, then again in Singapore, I was surrounded by entrepreneurs. I'm like, who shows more resilience than our entrepreneurs, right? So that's how the Resilient Entrepreneur was really born. And I spoke with about 60 or 70 entrepreneurs from the US, Middle East, India, Singapore, and the core concepts that you will read in the book are as a result of these conversations. But I'd like to pause here and just share a quick story of someone who's shown resilience, right? So a very enterprising woman decides to quit her full-time job. And she jumps into the world of entrepreneurship. She knew this is what she wanted to do. But right from the day she started, there were multiple challenges. Number one, she was the only woman in the room a lot of times, and she was not taken seriously. She had to manage everything. She had a small office, so she was the janitor, she was paying the bills, running around, building her business, managing her clients, while she was, breaking the biases and the stereotypes. So talking about heavy lifting. And she became a mom for the second time when her business was still an infant. So there were various things that she needed to manage. Now she had three choices, right? The way I look at it. One, quit working. Second, start working somewhere part-time and, put her dream of becoming an entrepreneur in the back burner. Third, persevere. And given the theme of today's events, you know what she did? She remained resilient. And with her determination, Sapna Narang, the managing director at Capital League, is no longer the only woman in the room, because she went ahead and she created a team of women-only financial professionals. And she did it. And her interview is featured in the book. So I would definitely recommend you to read her story. It is so, so, so inspiring. So, all the concepts that are covered in the book, whether you're talking about your purpose, you're talking about your growth mindset, or you're talking about leveraging your positivity, whatever that is, the underlying theme for all of this is to have what I call an open-minded stubbornness, stubborn enough to not give up, and open-minded to all the ideas, suggestions, and recommendations that are coming to you. But are we remaining open to those opportunities? That's a question that we need to ask ourselves. Or are we closing our minds and just focusing on the challenge at hand instead of widening our horizons? And resilience also actually comes if you look at your definition of success. How do you define success? When you look at the rearview mirror, whose version of the life are you living? Is it your parents? Is it your partner? Is it your company's definition of success that you have internalized? What's your definition? Because until you don't define that for yourself, it will be tough to build your resilience, because resilience really comes when you truly believe in what you're doing or what you're out there to achieve. And it's not just your ability to bounce back. It's not just looking at the closed road ahead and turning or pivoting. It's so much more than that. It's about emerging stronger every time you face a challenge. It's to adapt. It's to look at the challenges and tell yourself, I got this. That's your resilience. And it will serve you not just in your professional, but also in your personal lives. And you'll see it as you build that resilience, what a difference it makes. I do believe that each one of us has the ability to transform should we choose to. So here's what I would leave you with, choose resilience and choose success, because you are more resilient than you think you are. I really hope this book will serve you and the readers the way I'm hoping it will. Thank you. Back to you, Shalil.
Oops, sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. Hey, but yes, I think I know a little bit of your story. I know a little bit of some of the challenges that you've gone through in your life. And all the more reason why you needed to put this all together and put it out for people to be able to use and to learn from. Thank you. Thank you. I think we need to thank you for putting this all out so that people can pick it up and be better versions of themselves as we go forward. Okay, and at this particular point of time, we're coming to the actual official launch. And I have a lot of pleasure to invite Dhruti's mentor, someone whom she has worked with, who has guided her, who has made sure that the obstacles are sort of removed. And it gives me a lot of pleasure to invite and introduce Anupama Singhal. Anupama, hi. Okay, thank you. And at this particular point of time, Anupama, I'm going to ask you to release the book virtually. Okay. And
is there a drum roll?
okay,
Maybe everybody can unmute themselves and so that we can hear the congratulations. Oh my God, switch it off.
Congratulations.
Coming straight from the universe.
Congratulations.
And the galaxy to you.
Congrats, Dhruti.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Dhruti.
Congratulations, Dhruti.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Judy from Bintan Island.
Oh, thank you.
Wait, I'm going to switch off the background.
Right. Anupama, don't run away because we need you to speak something about it. And
No, I'm not going to, but I just wanted to get this like nice and clear so she can get it.
Absolutely. It's looking good. Just a little closer to the camera would definitely help.
Okay.
All right.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you. Thank you, Anu.
Okay. So I've also contracted with Anupama to get some secrets about you out, Dhruti. Okay. And in the chat,
Okay.
and in fact, I sent her a message. We want some secrets about Dhruti and things like that. So Anupama, over to you. But
okay,
of course,
maybe
I was
just
joking
a
about the
couple of
secrets part of
minutes.
it.
So first of
go.
all, Dhruti, big milestone. And I'm so proud of you for doing this. And I think a lot of lives will be touched because this book is really full of a lot of nuggets. And, you know, now I've been an entrepreneur for about 12 years. So I worked with Levi's for 15 years and then just said, I'm turning 40. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to follow my own dream. And then I quit and became an entrepreneur. So I first started by joining my husband, Bikash, and helping him with his dream. But very quickly, I set up my own company. And I think about an entrepreneur, there are two things that you really need. You need a purpose and you need lots and lots of passion. And I think as we go through the whole journey of, you know, trying to set up the product or the service or the company that we kind of are so passionate about, along the way, there are lots of challenges. And I can tell you that I faced a lot of them. So everything goes well when, like, you know, everything is working well and you're happy and you don't feel the need to kind of find any strategies except strategies for growth and, you know, how to grow your operations, how to get more customers, etc. But when the challenges start hitting, which could be around cash flow, which could be around people, which could be around, like, you know, lack of sometimes ideas of how you need to move forward on that journey. I think that's when you need this big word, which is resilience. And I think what Dhruti has done is that she has spoken to a lot of people and her own ideas about resilience and actually put these real strategies and collated them into this beautiful book. So I think sometimes I just open any page and I look at it and I say, oh, does this resonate with me? And yes, it does. But out of all the things that are here, right, I think chapter 4, which is like basically reconnecting to your purpose is the one that I found which really helps. So every time I'm down in the dumps and like, I'm thinking like, oh my God, was I right? Am I doing the right thing? Why am I doing this? Like, and that is the only thing which keeps you going. So if you go back and just think of why you started, who are the people who are getting helped by what you're doing? What does it bring to them? Is it joy? Is it some other benefit? Is it some transformation? What is it that they are getting out of it? So if you just reconnect to that purpose, it gives you that added little fillip to move forward to the next step. And then maybe one day later, you're out of it. So Dhruti, I think thank you from all of us and from all the people who are not even here, right? who will be reading this book and benefiting from it, and all the lives that will be touched by all these entrepreneurs. So thank you from all of them to putting this together. And I wish you big, big, big success.
Thank you so much.
Do more. And
Yes.
before I sign off, I just want to say one thing. There are certain moments in every relationship, so it's Dhruti and I know each other for 3 years. And just now, like 5 minutes ago, there was one particular moment when I felt that, okay, I will remember this forever. Because she said something about when you're facing the problems and the challenges, find that resilience in you and say, I got this. So I'm always going to remember, Dhruti, what you said today. And that's, I think, going to help me out of many of those challenging situations. So thank you. All the best.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anupama. I'm a little crestfallen that we didn't get any of the inside secrets, but thank you for your contribution. And it's great. It's great when you actually have a mentor come back to you and say, hey, listen, I picked up something from you. I picked up something from my mentee. And I think that's a special moment. And as a coach, I've also felt it that way in terms of when someone comes back to me and says, something that we discussed the other day, and that made a big impression. That made a big change for me. I've actioned a lot of things. Great, fantastic. Thank you very, very much for your contribution, Anupama. Right, and now I have the pleasure to invite someone from another nation, from another country. And Mui Hun Po is a friend of Dhruti's from Singapore. She's also the founder of Law, which is based out of Singapore. And she's going to speak for a few words about the book, her association with Dhruti, and also please tell us about your organization too. We'd love to hear about that. Over to you, Hunpo.
Thanks, Shalil, and Dhruti, congratulations again. You really made it happen since last time we spoke. So very happy that you actually have nailed this one, right? So yeah, so just a short introduction to myself. I've actually always worked in corporate, and like what one Anupama was saying, one day I decided that, hey, I should just do something on my own, but I co-founded a food tech company that's called Explore, and I have 2 co-founders. So if anybody is thinking of like going on an entrepreneurial journey, I think you've got to be prepared for the fact that there will be plenty of up and downs, like what everybody around the table have talked about. Sanjay, Anupama, everybody, we've all gone through it, right? So one day I think we could be in cloud 9, and the next day it could be quite down in the dumps, right? And the question then is, how do you kind of dig yourself, get out of it? When we first started our company, we had this idea that we thought was really nice one, that we wanted to go out with a travel app with a dining component that's going to allow people to dine in the cities with their private chefs in the city, and we organize the people to the chefs actually to share their recipes and all that. Then, of course, when we are about to actually launch the application, we all know that the COVID came around and nobody's going anywhere, right? So we really had, not much of a choice, because we have spent a lot of money actually really developing the application and getting everything ready. So, it looks like we're like going to like just shut down or something, But, we decided, hey, maybe we shouldn't, we should just pivot, and we're thinking really hard how are we going to do that, right? The feeling was really pretty depressing, we'll say. We had funding for the original idea, and of course all investors were actually looking at us to say, well, what now, right? But we did not die. You know, we had a good community of private chefs on our network, so we decided to build a platform that will just deliver food, right, from these chefs to anybody around Singapore. And you know, we wanted to then build this so that we could pivot across Southeast Asia too, right? And we then went deep into that area of the business. And of course, again, along the way, there were many times where we would have barriers, blockages, running out of funds and everything, right? But, you know, I must say that we seem to be pulling through barriers after barriers, you know. Sometimes I would say that we skid very close to the edge. You know what I mean by that? I mean, it's like you're falling off already, right? Yeah, that sort of thing. But we get through, right? And it's always this mindset that we have, right? The co-founders together. Whatever it is, we'll find a way. I mean, it doesn't really matter. We'll find a way to crack it. And that's what been kind of getting us through. And if I link it back to Dhruti's book, I think that's all got to do with, you know, just leveraging, you know, positivity and managing the negativity. Everybody will tell you sucks, right? You know, there's 101 reasons why you shouldn't be around, right? But to be able to cut through that, to be able to pivot, have a plan B, and to continuously have that growth mindset, I would say that is tremendously important to survival and getting your business to really be sustainable.
Thank you very much. And I want to say, I think I'm not an entrepreneur, and I don't think I will be. I don't think I have the nerves of steel that are required to get in and have that sense of being uncomfortable for a while. And yes, I can understand that. But there was a point of time when I did start something, then I felt so uncomfortable, I just moved away from it. But yes, and I want to take this opportunity to wish you all the best in your venture, Unpo. And maybe on my next visit to Singapore, I'll look you up.
Sure, look forward to it, Sadu.
Thank you. Right, so we are slowly coming to the end of our session. Something about the book. So all of you who are here today, those of you who are logging in from India, who are based out of India, you will get a link to get your copy of the book at absolutely no cost. And you will get an email from my colleagues, Mayank, who's here, or Remuna. So that's for those of you who are in India. For those of you who are in Singapore, your copy of the book will actually be reaching you in about a couple of weeks' time. Is that right, Dhruti? 2 or 3 weeks' time? Yeah, so that will also come to you. Dhruti will be mailing you personally to let you know how you can collect. And if you're coming in from any other country, at this particular point of time, my colleague Mayank is putting in an email ID, and we're going to request you to just write into Mayank. Mayank, can you put in your email ID into the chat at this time? Okay, and do let us know where you are, and we will get in touch with you so that we can make sure that your copy of the book comes to you as well. We don't want to leave anybody out. So we're making sure that everyone who's taken the time, who's taken the effort to come and attend this session today does get a copy of The Resilient Entrepreneur. And so saying, at this point of time, I am going to put Dhruti into the spotlight, and we are going to take some questions, some comments, anything. Essentially, this is a time that you can actually have Dhruti for a few minutes. Ask her anything about the book right now. Dhruti, over to you. I'm going to mute myself for a while. I've been speaking too much.
Thank you so much, Shalil.
Dhruti, let me ask you the first question.
Yes. You know everything.
If you're not, if it doesn't make you nervous.
Please go for it.
So what was the one thing, as you spoke to so many entrepreneurs, was there one thing that kind of resonated with you that you wanted to do with your life?
Yeah, in fact, a lot of things, right? So, and not only in terms of professional, but as I always say, this is one of the things which easily can go from personal to professional and back,
Yeah.
There is a story in the book of Gaurav. He's from Wildcraft, right? And very like the way he shared his story and the effort that it took for them to survive that pandemic, right? That was, for me, that was so inspirational. Like every time I feel like, oh my God, I'm getting overwhelmed. Okay, things are moving in different directions. I don't know what to do, right? And he said one thing: when you feel that you're going in different directions, or if you feel like a headless chicken, just remember your purpose. Just remember why you're doing this. And for me, that will always keep coming back. That was one thing I'll always remember, that just remember why you started. That's it. And keep that center stage. Everything else will fall into place.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, maybe I'll jump in with one. Being an author myself, I think, Dhruti, as you were working to collect all the different incidents and stories from different people, was there any special learning for you as you wrote the book?
Yeah. As I said, that particular year, 2019, was especially tough because I felt that, I'd lost my zest, I'd lost my enthusiasm. And as you all know, I'm a very energetic person. So for me to lose that, it cannot go down very well. But as I spoke with everybody, as I said, 60 to 70 entrepreneurs, just that their passion actually rubbed onto me. And that a lot of people actually said that it's not about becoming an entrepreneur for myself, because their goal was never to become a unicorn or to break the records and grow fast overnight, grow fast, go home. Nothing like that. They just were following their passion one step at a time. In fact, I remember when I was feeling overwhelmed with everything, somebody I spoke to said that, when I am trying to do multiple things, I just focus on one thing for that one particular year, and then I move on to the next. Give yourself the time to focus your energy on that one thing that you really care about. And I think that is something that has really resonated with me. And that was a huge learning for me personally, because while I was writing the book and while things were getting ready, we had a personal tragedy at home. I had to move countries. I was serving, with various associations. And it was all about the book and about starting a new role at C2C OD. So a lot of things were going on. It was easy to feel overwhelmed, but that resonated. Give yourself time, give yourself space. And actually one of the things I did is that I followed my own advice and I got myself a coach. And that really helped. I keep telling people, I'm like, either get a mentor or get a coach or get both. I did both. Because if not for them, they became my pillars of strength and my support system. If not for that, I wouldn't be here today.
Thanks, Dhruti.
Thank you.
That's why you've become a coach too, Dhruti.
Yes, that's right.
Absolutely. Lovely. I've got a couple of questions that's come in on the chat. So the first question is coming in from Ganesh, and he asks, how is the book going to help first-time entrepreneurs to build resilience? We have another one, but we'll ask Dhruti, you can take that.
Sure, absolutely. So first-time entrepreneurs especially. In fact, I was recently at a networking event last week, and it was all about, there were these 20-year-olds, kicking ass, starting up and doing their own thing, making a mark in the world and following their passion. And I realized that they have all the resources that they need. There is co-working, there is co-living, there are networking events, you have access to the VCs, everything. What really matters in the long run is the mindset, right? And this book is all about that. How do you cultivate that mindset to not give up, to the little challenges, that will definitely come? And how do you remain persistent in that sense? How do you endure? How do you persevere? So it's all about the mindset. It's all about building those muscles, those core muscles that we talk about. It's all about that. And that's how I think the first time entrepreneurs will definitely benefit it. If they have the right mindset to succeed, that's about it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ganesh.
Hey, Ganesh, I'm Anu from PTI. Hey, Dhruti, congratulations for the book.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks. Ganesh, please send me the release and pictures too.
I will do that.
Okay.
I will do that. Thanks for coming, Anu.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I was a little confused seeing two Ganesh.
I know.
With the same. Okay, right. We have a question from Onwan, and he asks, could you share a few tips about when to pivot and when to persist?
So it's about, again, this is based on the conversations that I've had, right? A lot of time entrepreneurs felt that, okay, the timing is not right. I've missed my boat, or I'm too early to market, right? When you feel that you have the product market fit, and if there are only certain situations at which time you feel like, this is not going as well as I thought it is. If it's just that, it's time to persist, because this will pass, right? And that's actually one of the things I have on my bracelets. This too shall pass, because it's important to remember that. And when do you pivot? When you have lost faith in what you're doing, when you stopped believing why you started what you did, it's time to pivot, maybe, right? Because if you don't have that belief and faith, stop right there. And this was actually mentioned by one of the entrepreneurs. It's not me. It's one of the entrepreneurs who's featured in the book, Jo Agarwal of Vaisa. She's the one who actually said this.
Okay. And an interesting mention here from CJ. I'm taking the liberty of addressing you as CJ because I heard Dhruti doing that.
Yes, CJ.
And so CJ, you said open-minded stubbornness. I think I know what you're talking about, but do you want to give a little bit of clarity around that? And do you want to help Dhruti?
Just quoting what Dhruti mentioned earlier on, to be stubborn but yet open-minded.
Minded, okay.
Just links to the previous question about first-time entrepreneurs.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You need to persist, but at the same time, a lot of entrepreneurs are repeating the same mistakes over and over again and expect a different result. So
yeah.
Okay, all right. So Panduranga Reddy has a question for us. Out of so many books on entrepreneurship, what are two things that sets apart from the rest? Where I'm thinking what are two things that would set this book apart from the rest?
Yeah, thank you for that question. One of the things, as I became a certified coach, one of the things that you will notice in the book are you have questions to reflect upon, right? Not every book will provide you this, because if you remember the first part of my speech, our learnings come from a reflection of our experiences, right? So it's about linking back to what you've experienced, reflecting upon it, and then understanding how can you use that in your favor. So that's one of the first things. The second thing, the interviews of the entrepreneurs that you'll read over here, a lot of people asked me, why these, I mean, is there anybody famous who you've interviewed? Well, if you want somebody famous, go to Your Story, go to Forbes, go to wherever. These are entrepreneurs who have followed their passion, who've remained resilient, and their stories are not printed maybe across the media. A few of them are, but there are a few which are not. And that's their choice. That's their absolute choice. But it's interesting to learn from them as well, how they were on the verge of giving up and what are some of the daily rituals and practices that they have stuck to in order to remain resilient. So these are the two things which I would definitely say sets the book apart from the rest.
All right. We have a question from Down Under, and Kerrit Ray, I hope I got the Ray part of it right, asks, do you have any daily routines or practices that you yourself use to build resilience? But also not just to build resilience, but also prioritize self-care.
Yeah.
Any daily routines or practices?
Yes. So thank you for that question. One of the things I always do is I set aside time to reflect. And it's not a meditative practice necessarily. Sometimes I just do it when I'm driving, when I'm on my own, when I'm not busy managing the traffic of Bangalore or navigating it rather. But I do that. I always set aside time to reflect. That's one of the things that has helped me quite a bit. And the second thing which I do is a lot of reframing. Just an hour before, the event, there were certain situations which I felt were out of my control. Always reframe. Always choose to operate from a place of control. So it's the, how do you say it? It's the narrative. It's the story you tell yourself. I'm very conscious about the narrative in my head, and I always reframe whenever there is a need in order to stay on the path that I've chosen.
Okay. We have a
Avni.
hand up. Avni, yes, absolutely. We have Avni who has a question. Avni, please go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, Dhruti. First of all, congratulations on this amazing book and book launch. Hats off to you. I have a question around how did you pace yourself? Because, you said you went through such a long journey about moving your country, a particular tragedy that happened, you had to handle that, and you're an entrepreneur, you're a mom, right? There's a lot happening for you in your life. So how did you pace yourself, and what techniques did you use to really get this done for yourself and being resilient despite all the challenges that came your way?
Thank you so much, Avni. So yes, it wasn't easy, and it never is when you're handling multiple things at the same time. And if you're in my head, you'll realize I'm always guilty. I feel like I'm always guilty about something, right? And that's the narrative that I'm talking about, which I have to keep switching, right? So that I don't see that. I think one of the things, and I know I've mentioned this before, that has really, really helped me is to have my coach by my side. That helped me center. I honestly tried so many different things, like setting aside time to meditate or setting aside time to follow a particular schedule. Life always gets in the way, right? And unpredictable incidents do happen. I did not forget what was the purpose of the book. And I say this, and sometimes it might hurt me when I say this out too loud too often, is that this book is not targeted at established entrepreneurs. I'm actually going to ship the book to libraries in the tier 2 and 3 cities of India, because I want that, the people out there who may not have the access and the resources that we are so privileged to have this book, a copy of this book in their hands, so that they remember that it's more important to persevere than giving up, which may look easy at some point in time, but it's not. So I think that little thing really kept me going, that I wanted out there for them. Like I said, I didn't write for me, I wrote it for someone who's about to give up. So that's what kept me going.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing.
So Deepak has a question, and I think I can answer that. So Deepak's question, Deepak Barada, your question is, did you have a moment when you decided to give up writing the book? I sincerely hope you did not have such a moment.
No,
right.
I did not. I definitely did not. In fact, I remember shutting the door and just focusing on the book about 8 to 10 hours per day. And I think I got tremendous support from my husband and my daughter, because if not for them, this wouldn't have happened. She was 8, and she would open the door and I'd be like, honey, I love you, I need to write the book. And she'd be like, oh, okay, all right. And I would discuss certain ideas with them, and they'd be sharing what they had to share. So it became a fun, I will not call it an activity, but it was a fun project in that sense. Then when you get the support, I think it becomes easier. So I never thought of giving up at any point in time.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Puneet, and Puneet asks, why resilient? Why not innovative or any other word?
Yeah, so for every author, the reason you write a book is because you strongly feel about something, right? Just like an entrepreneur. For me, resilience is something I strongly feel about. yes, over the last 2-3 years, the word has been overused, abused. A lot of people say that it's about being tough. I say it's not. Sometimes it's about, resilience is about just observing what's happening to you and say, okay, I'm just going to observe this and I'm going to let it go. That's it. It takes resilience to do just that sometimes, right? It takes resilience to say, okay, this is not the product market fit. I need to pivot. I need to give up on the idea, maybe. So resilience is something that came naturally to me. As I shared in my story, it was not something that that happened overnight. It was something I'd shown over a period of time, again and again and again. And I did not realize what I was showing was resilience. I was termed by my friends as somebody who's hardworking, who's determined, who's unstoppable. And I put this together and I'm like, that's resilience. That's what keeps you going. So yeah.
All right. And just scanning the participant list to see if there's any more questions, any more hands raised. Thank you, Dhruti. Okay. Right. Looks like you're off the hook, Dhruti, right now. Okay.
Anu has something.
They have something. Ray, you go first.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi, Dhruti, I want to say congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
I'm so happy for you. Okay, so let me ask a question. For when do you think is, okay, so there are times, right, where I try to be really resilient, but my heart is like telling me, you know what, I don't think this is right for you. But sometimes it's so hard to like tell if you are thinking it's not right for you out of fear, or if it's really not like an opportunity that's really not aligned with you. So I'm curious to know if there's a moment in time where you have felt that before and you were deciding if you should give up on something, whether it's something you're meant to do, etc. And like, how do you really sort out your thoughts to know when it's right to stay on the course and when it's right to like give something up?
Yeah, it's similar. Thank you for asking that, Ray. It's similar to what somebody else asked before as well, in terms of when do you persevere and when do you pivot, right? When do you persist? When do you pivot? Similar to that. And to that, I would always say that do a deep check-in with yourself, because I am a big believer in following my gut, in following my instincts. And your instincts would never, never, never let you down, right? And eventually, and there is something about that in the book as well, that eventually, when you start listening to your instinct, that voice gets the strength that it so deserves. Most of the times what we do is, oh, wait, no, this is not instinct. I think this is fear. So I'm going to, put that voice down and I'm going to just go with what I've decided to do. So we think about it as persistence, right? And we keep going for it. And then we realize down the road that, oh no, okay, this was really not a good idea, right? So I think it comes a lot with listening to your inner voice. How do you recognize that? Is that when you are growing as a result of that inner voice, follow it. If you are stopping yourself from doing something, that's fear, because fear naturally paralyzes growth, right? So if you are not following your instinct, if you're not following your heart, and if you're scared of something, there will be a fine line, because as you move forward, you start realizing that, oh, okay, this is not what I had to do. I had to do that. And slowly, with experience, you will learn which one is the inner voice and which is fear. Right? So I always attribute it to growth. If I'm growing, it's my inner voice. If I'm stopping, that's my fear. That's the way I look at it.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And, I just have a follow-up question, right? That came to mind, and then I will stop. So you mentioned that it's so important to follow your intuition and your heart, and you wrote this book for people who are like early on entrepreneurs, right? So one thing that I noticed that sometimes I might fall in the trap of is that I start prioritizing the advice or like the advice of older entrepreneurs. And then it's so hard to like to identify like, oh my gosh, should I follow my inner voice? Is this really my inner voice? If I follow my inner voice, there'll be risk, there'll be uncertainty, but this advice seems to be really practical and logical. So what is something that you do to sort of like remind yourself to like really prioritize your inner voice, as opposed to like fall into a trap of like following practical advice that could work for other people.
No, that's true. And I can resonate with that. I made that mistake several times of listening to what other people had to say over prioritizing what I really felt I wanted to do, right? And of course, as I said, over a period of time, I realized that what a rookie mistake, right? However, what I do is now that I've realized that there is another way to go about it, you can truly follow what you really want to do. I always remind myself why I started, the why. The why is what will help you get to that point, right? And the way I look at it is, and that's why I say open-minded stubbornness, right? The way I look at it is remain open-minded to those ideas and those suggestions. Maybe you want to modify them a little bit to make it work for you. You don't have to do exactly what other people have to say. Use their experience to your advantage for sure, because it won't be a smart move to say, oh, no, forget it. I'm just going to do what I want to do. But I would definitely say use that to your advantage and go back to your why. And if it aligns, do it. Do not stop yourself from doing it.
Thank you. Short and sweet. Seek perspective but not advice. And know yourself really well so that you do what aligns with you and your why. Very
Absolutely.
powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay. Person.
Anupama, you have a question, your hands raised.
Anupama.
Anuradha, you go first.
Okay.
Anu, go ahead. I'll go after you. No worries.
Okay. So Dhruti, what next with the book? So do you have any coaching planned or any mastermind or what next? Tell me.
Yeah. So one of the things which I've always thought of is that support system, which I also alluded to, which helped me so much. I would want to create that for the first-time entrepreneurs, for sure. So it's about, you can call it a mastermind or you can call it a guided conversation, whatever you want to call it. But create a group of people. And there are so many amazing entrepreneurs out there, especially in Bangalore. It's such a hotbed. It's like, again, I'm breathing entrepreneurship, right? I love it. And that energy matches with my energy as well. So I'm like, okay, we got to do something together.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that will happen.
Good. All the best. Sounds
Thank
exciting.
You. Thank you.
Thank you, Anupama. Anuradha?
Yes, thank you. Dhruti, congratulations again.
Thank you.
This book is just right for me because I'm a first-time and completely new entrepreneur. So I've been listening intently. And two of the things that I wanted to say have just been said, which is the role of intuition, right? Like I strongly believe in that. So I actually had Ray's question, which you've answered about, how and when to take in someone else's advice, but trust your gut when it comes to, your product, your service the best. So how to bring those two together. But I also wanted to check with you in terms of if you would have one strategy, like one tip for a new entrepreneur that when they're down in the dumps and they're like, which I often am, and I'm like, okay, I really know that this is something that I want to get out there, but I'm not feeling it right now. Apart from going back to your purpose, I'm going to start doing that. What else can you tell someone like me to keep me going?
Yeah. So thank you for asking that. And thank you so much for your wishes. Really appreciate it. One of the things that I do personally, and I don't know if this clearly answers your question, please feel free to ask again if it doesn't, is that I always remember where I started. And what happens is most of the times, all of us are guilty of this, whether we accept it or not, we keep moving the goalpost. We do not celebrate the smaller achievements. We think, big deal, why do that? So don't do that. Just remember where you started, go back to it, celebrate that journey that you've had so far, right? And the experiences that you've collected as a result of that journey. I do that often and it definitely helps. I don't know, Anu, does this answer your question?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense because I think that's that self-care and self-love part that we really need as we're moving forward. So yeah, thank you, Dhruti.
Absolutely. Thank you, Anupama, for joining us. Bye.
Bye. Thanks. Congrats once again, babe. Bye.
Thanks.
We probably have time for just one more question. So I'm going to invite Puneet Sharma. Puneet, would you like to just unmute yourself? I think you had another question. So go ahead. Puneet Sharma, are you there? So it looks like he's dropped off. Okay. But he doesn't seem to be on the list, so I think we can safely say that he's dropped off. All right, at this particular point of time, I think it's time to do a wrap. Once again, thank you all very, very much for coming in, taking the time, making Dhruti's day. She's come and joined us recently. We love having her with us. And I'm sure that she's going to add a lot of value to C2C UD as we go along. Dhruti, it's been such a pleasure to be able to host this for you.
Thank you.
Not just as a colleague, but as a friend.
Thank you.
All the best. All the best is what I can say. And once again, a big shout out to all of you who came in. Be ready, just be ready to get your copy of The Resilient Entrepreneur. And with this, we shall sign off. Thank you very much and have a good weekend.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Again, Dhruti.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, I guess we could exit the meeting.
Hold on, Sanjay, Vinay, are you still there? Vinay?
Vinay, I think, has left.
Okay. We wanted to do a bit of a screenshot since my friend Ganesh is here. He had requested for that with everyone. Can we do that? Or
yeah, we can do
so a lot of people have left. So
no, just us.
Oh,
just
okay.
us, the team.
Here, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I ask Sudhika, Parita, Sushma, Dr. Madan, Gitika, can you just switch on your cameras for just a few seconds? Meetal as well.
Hey, Sudhika, so good to see you. You're on mute.
Congratulations, Dhruti. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Madan, Meetal, Sushma, Gitika. May I request you to just switch on your cameras?
No, it's okay if they cannot. We can just do it with the people we have. It's okay.
Right. Okay. So Mayank, go ahead. This is your shot. Just a second. One more. Oops. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Shani.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, thank you very much. I think we can now log off. Thank you all once again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Dhruti. Congratulations once again.
Thank you. Bye.